wage bill can broadly be, is inclusive generally of the benefits and remuneration paid to employees by the employer for the work done. And it constitutes of at least three components, I think 3 or 4 components. One is the basic pay. Secondly, we have got allowances such as house allowance, commuter allowance, hardship, we call them remunerative allowances. We then have the third one, which is we call the facilitative allowance. This is basically to meet any expenses that have been incurred in undertaking the official duties. We have benefits such as this medical cover. There's the pensions that come with it in terms of basic pay, in terms of the benefits to the employer. Effectively, the Commission came on board in 2012, effectively. And at that point, the wage bill was standing at around 435 billion. And this has steadily increased all the way to 827 in, that's an estimated figure in 2019, 2020. Wage bill, sometimes you may want to ask, so why is it increasing? I thought since the Commission came on board, it should reduce. But you'll agree with me that services are not reducing. Population is increasing. And therefore, at best, what we can look at is the decreasing increase and be able to find out, is the rate slowing down more than is the absolute numbers changing? Because numbers, so long as the population increases, so long as government is going lower to the people, you will definitely be able to spend more. You'll have to spend more in terms of reaching the people at the grassroots. The economy can do so much if employees understood that this is what we have. I believe the push may be more ameliorated instead of continuously asking for higher pay, but then not even considering the performance of the economy. That has been a continuous challenge that we have seen from different quarters. We've got weak payroll management systems, and these have been ongoing for quite a while. I think you are very familiar with ghost workers that have been identified in the past from payroll systems that end up paying people who are either not working or they're working but they're not really giving their best. But that's simply because the payroll systems need to be looked at and they are not very robust. And then, of course, finally, there is the lack of a framework to link performance and productivity to pay. This is a mandate that we have from the Constitution, and it is very vital that for every shilling that is being consumed by the employer, we need to be able to see a marginal output or some form of productivity or efficiency, if you want to look at it that way. But that link hasn't been there yet, but I'm happy to let you know that we are working on a framework that can also be able to link productivity and performance to the pay.
You have institutions who will pay extraneous allowance and responsibility allowance. But there is a thin line between the two in terms of eligibility criteria and the reason for paying the two. So you'll find that in some cases, an employee would be paid both. But if you look at the reasons why they are being paid, it's more or less for the same thing. So that's one of the allowances that we are saying that we will still have extraneous, we will still have responsibility. But the eligibility criteria in the policy statements have been defined clearly so that you don't end up paying both. You can pay responsibility, you can pay extraneous, but for the same effort, you cannot duplicate them. In terms of the ghost workers, when Commissioner John was presenting, he did make reference to past studies that said there were ghost workers, right? Do we have current examples where we can actually say in this sector there are ghost workers? Let me confirm that recently we carried out compliance checks in over 20 counties, and we did not really come up with a number that we can say that there are ghost workers in this specific area. I think our main concern is about optimal staffing levels. And you will see that that is what the presentation was really talking about. And the reason why optimal staffing levels is of concern is because until you have actually come up with an optimal number, then you cannot for sure say this is the number that I require of this type of competencies, because it's not just about the number. Optimal staffing levels speak to number, but it also speaks about the mix of your staff and the competencies therein. So that is the area of focus, and indeed it was one of the resolutions from the Wage Bill Conference, which is now a summit resolution, that we would be going through this process to come up with optimal staffing levels, both at national and county governments.